Have you ever pondered the depth of meaning in the phrase, "The dead in Christ shall rise first"? This line from the first book of Thessalonians has intrigued scholars, theologians, and believers for centuries. In this passage, the Apostle Paul paints a vivid picture of the end times. He speaks of a moment when the Lord descends from heaven with a shout, and those who have passed away in faith will rise again. But what about those who are alive and remain? Are these the faithful who have not been martyred, or are these survivors of a great destruction? This perspective gains weight when we consider the subsequent verses. Thessalonians 5:3 warns of sudden destruction, suggesting that those who remain have been preserved, much like the three holy children in the book of Daniel. The book of 2nd Esdras further supports this interpretation. Know this, therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that be dead. Could it be that the so-called rapture is not for those swept away, but for those remaining alive, those left behind? Switching gears, consider the plea in the Lord's Prayer, "Lead us not into temptation." What are we asking of God here? 2 Peter assures us that God knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations. And yet 1 Corinthians tells us that God will provide a way to escape temptation so we can bear it. So when we ask God not to lead us into temptation, we are essentially asking Him to do whatever it takes to keep us from it. We are asking for the strength to overcome, much like Joseph did when he ran away, or Jesus when he fasted for 40 days, or John when he chose exile in the desert. The question remains, why should God keep us from temptation if the law no longer matters? The answer lies in the first epistle of John, which reminds us that the love of God is keeping His commandments. The commandments, it assures us, are not burdensome. They are the path to overcoming the world through faith. In conclusion, the Scriptures challenge us to deeper understanding and commitment. They call us to ponder the mysteries of faith, to seek wisdom in the Word, and to live according to God's commandments. And remember, the so-called rapture may not be for those swept away, but for those who remain faithful and alive. The Scriptures urge us not to fear temptation, but to seek God's guidance and strength to bear it. After all, the victory that overcomes the world is our faith, and that faith is rooted in the belief that Jesus is the Son of God.